So we are reading from the Bhagavad-Gita as it is, second chapter, text number 30. Dehi nityam avadyam ayam dehe sarvasya bharatam tasmat sarvani bhutani na tvam sochitum arhasim de nityam avadyayam dehe sarvasya bharatam tasmat sarvani bhutani na tvam sochitum arhasi Dehi, the owner of the body, nityam, eternally, avadyam, cannot be killed. Ayam, this soul, dehe, in the body, sarvasyam, of everyone, Bharata, or descendant of Bharat. Tasmat, therefore, sarvani, all, bhutani, living entities that are born, na, never, tvam, you, sochitum, to lament, arhasi, deserve. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. O descendant of Bharat, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being. Purport. The Lord now concludes the chapter of instruction on the immutable spirit soul. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna establishes that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna as a Kshatriya should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher, Bhishma and Drona, will die in the battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body. Not that there is no such thing as soul, or that living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity resulting from the interaction of chemicals. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged. But at a time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. That need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. Om Ajnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Yanam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapanantigam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yotabadagamalan Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sirupam sagrajatam sagana raganatanvitam tam sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Setam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishaganvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Govigaganta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Ganchana Gaudangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Brijamano Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchagalpaturubhascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivadari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Dehi Nityam Avadyo Yam Dehe Sarvasya Bharata Tasmat Sarvani Bhutani Natvam Sochitum Arhasi. O descendant of Bharat, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore you need not grieve for any living being. So here, in this chapter, as Prabhupada is explaining the purport, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna about the spirit soul being different from the material body, from the gross and from the subtle material body. So that is the first step in spiritual life, that we have to know, we are learning that we are not this body, that we are spirit soul. And then we have to, of course, go further on, because simply knowing that is not sufficient. But then one has to realize the existence of this soul, our real existence, spiritual existence, as a spiritual being completely apart from the gross and subtle body. But first you have to get Gyan, the knowledge, Sambandha Gyan. So the spiritual master is giving Sambandha Gyan, and that is explained in the scriptures also, in the Vedic literatures. So always these three levels of knowledge are given. First Sambandha Gyan, where one comes to know that one is not this body but spirit soul, and that the spirit soul has a relationship with the Supreme Soul, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But somehow the living entity, the spirit soul, has coming to this material world and then is identifying with this material body, with the material existence. But actually the spirit soul belongs to the spiritual realm, and especially when one has gotten the human form of life, then it is his prime duty to try to realize his spiritual existence, not just theoretically but practically. And that is possible only actually by taking shelter of the spiritual master, who is a representative of the Lord. And then one has to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. And the instructions of the spiritual master are Krishna's instructions. The spiritual master is speaking what Krishna wants him to speak. is repeating the words of Krishna, of the Bhagavad-Gita. So the spiritual master is a pure devotee of the Lord. He is realized. And with his help, the conditioned soul, so he can also realize his spiritual nature, his real nature. So, but simply hearing that is not sufficient about the existence of the soul, about the spiritual world where we belong to, about Krishna, his pastimes. But one has to practically apply oneself to the process known as sadhana bhakti, following the rules and regulations given by the spiritual master and the scriptures, the padati. That is the process by which one can realize the spiritual existence of the Supreme Being and our own existence. So that is the second step, that is known as abhideya gyan, following the process by which we can realize the transcendental subject matter, practically speaking. So it is a practical realization. And then going further on, under the instruction of the spiritual master, one can come to the highest level. So that is prayojan gyan. When the living entity is realizing his spiritual nature and then serving Krishna with love and affection, with transcendental emotions coming from the soul, nothing to do with material existence. So that stage is to be attained by the living entity, by the human being. So, by taking shelter of the spiritual master and following his instructions, as he is explaining. And so the spiritual master is repeating Krishna's words, which are also the words of the scriptures, because the scriptures, they are coming actually from the Supreme Lord or his representatives. So these have to be followed. Then one can practically realize the Supreme Being, Krishna, and then our own existence. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning about Arjuna as a Kshatriya. He should not abandon his duty out of fear, because he was there fighting against the Kauravas. So the two parties were there, the Pandavas, the sons of Pandu, the husband of Kunti. And on the other side, the sons of Dhritarashtra, the Kurus, the Kauravas. So they were cousin brothers, so they were related, and usually one should try to live peacefully in this world with everyone, what to speak of one's family members. But as it is in this material world, very quickly there is some, even in the family relationship, you can see everywhere, difficulties are arising, mostly due to the conditioned soul having his own agenda or his own motives for sense gratification. But if Krishna is in the center in everybody's lives, so then there is harmony, and then there will be peace and satisfaction. So the Pandavas, they were devotees of the Lord, pure devotees of the Lord, acting for Krishna's satisfaction. But the Kauravas, they had some material motives And so due to the circumstances, the Pandavas, they were supposed to come. The ruler, the eldest of the Pandavas, Yudhishthira. So, of course, the Dhritarashtra, so he was the elder brother of Pandu, so he was supposed to be first of all the emperor, but because he was blind, so he was not considered fit to take that position. Because the leader of the society, he must be qualified, you must be able to lead the society. So Pandu was then elected as the emperor. So Dhritarashtra was not so happy with that, of course, but he had no choice because he was blind by the will of Providence. But then he had 100 sons, and he wanted then actually, and the sons, so they were able to see and act properly, and they had qualifications as Kshatriyas. So then he was thinking they should actually become, my eldest son Duryodhana, he should become the emperor. And the Kauravas also, they were thinking in this way. So they became envious of the Pandavas. So but then after Pandu left this world, gave up his body, so then naturally Yudhishthira, so he was supposed to become the emperor. But the Kauravas, they were not agreeing. And they were thinking, because we are actually elder. We are the sons of the elder of the two brothers, Dhritarashtra and Pandu. So we should actually be ruling. So, but they were not devoted to the Supreme Lord. So and then they were trying to occupy the position, and so they were acting against the Pandavas. So therefore, so Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord, and he has come to this world himself in his original form to protect his devotees and to destroy the miscreants, the demoniac people, atheistic persons, and establish the principles of religion. So, and of course, ultimately to attract, that is the name of Krishna, the conditioned souls towards him, towards the spiritual realm, by performing his wonderful pastimes. So he attracted the living entities, the conditioned souls. And then he gave, of course, here the sublime instructions for the benefit of the conditioned souls. So here in this instance, as explained here by Prabhupada, so Krishna so instructed Arjuna, so first of all telling him that you're not his body, you're your spirit soul. So and then the point was that he was lamenting how I can fight against my teachers. Bhishma Dev, the grandfather, was also the teacher, the guide of the Pandavas, and he was a devotee, and even Dronacharya. So they were righteous persons, but due to providence, because Bhishma here taking a vow that he will take care of Hastinapura and protect the capital of Bharatvarsha, and Drona also, so he was there the teacher, so they were somewhat obliged to be still there and in some way support Duryodhana, although they were not fully doing that with the heart, because they knew that the Pandavas, they were righteous. But due to provisions, so they were forced to act in that way. And therefore Krishna, so he told Arjuna that you must fight against Bhishma and Drona. Although they are your teachers, but at the same time they are in the company of Duryodhana. They are on his side, and he's not a righteous person. And so therefore you should fight and not abandon your duty of a Kshatriya. So that is an important point. Usually we have to be very respectful to the teachers. It is mentioned that one should not even offer a verbal fight or argue with the teacher or even with the parents, according to etiquette. One has to be respectful towards the seniors, Gurujan. So the spiritual master, the elders, the father, the uncles. So one has to respect them, even if they may not always be perfect in their speaking or their dealings, and so we may even disagree. But then, if we disagree, so we may then very humbly show our disagreement, express our disagreement. So, but we should not argue against with the seniors. So what to speak of fighting? So that is not proper. But here, because a war was going to begin, which ultimately was also Krishna's will, because there were so many unrighteous persons on the planet, so they had to be killed. So therefore the war was taking place. So therefore Krishna, he wanted Arjuna to fight against even his teachers, which normally should not be done. So then Prabhupada is explaining further that violence is usually not encouraged. But one should be very peaceful and try to live peacefully with everyone. And so in one's thinking one should be very pure and respectful, and not even so in our thinking we should try to do harm to others. So sometimes one may be thinking, this person did this to me and I want to slap him in the face, or even, of course, materialistic persons, and so they will even think, I want to kill this person. He stole my money, or this or that, whatever. But one should be pure in thought and not try to, even with thought, try to harm another person with words, what to speak with the body. And then, so one should not speak harshly to anybody else, but always very kind. Speak the truth, although sometimes the truth may be a little hard, but the truth should also be spoken. But then it has to be spoken palatably, so that the other person can accept it, digest it, and not feel hurt. So these are all subtle things which a Vaishnav has to learn. So Vaishnav is a perfect gentleman. Therefore Prabhupada used to say, first you become a gentleman, and then you can become a devotee. So that is explained in the scriptures also. Like for example, Chanakya Pandit, Niti Shastra, how to act properly in this world. Moral codes are there. How to talk, how to think, how to walk, how to act. So violence should not be there. Not in thinking, not with the words. What to speak with the body, physical, of hurting somebody. So that should be avoided. But at the same time, Prabhupada is explaining, and it is quite natural and practical, and one has to see that sometimes there's a need to show violence. So for example, if somebody is trying to break in somebody's house, so the owner of the house So he has to protect himself, that a person will not harm him, the thief or the one who is breaking in, or he will not steal his money. So at that time, so he has to protect himself, and even at that time, so he may harm the one who is attacking, and then there is actually, so that is, they're not considered wrong. So similarly here, Prabhupada is explaining that war is not discouraged when there's an actual need. So again and again we can see that sometimes, so one country is invading another country, and sometimes even it may not be righteous, and then one has to protect oneself. The army has to protect against the invader. So that should not be discouraged. So there is a need of that sometimes. So and then Prabhupada is mentioning, but that need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord. So it should be sanctioned by the Lord. So therefore we have to try to be always Krishna conscious. Surrender to Krishna. Think about Krishna. Do everything for Krishna's pleasure, and then Krishna will guide us. He will inspire us to do the right thing according to time, place and circumstances. Even sometimes then to show some violence, just like the father or the spiritual master. So if the child is not behaving properly, then sometimes the father has to chastise the child strongly. And Prabhupada said, it is mentioned in the scriptures, that from Niti Shastra again by Chanakya Pandit, from when the child is born till he's 5, so he can be pampered. So whatever he wants he can get, no problem, and the little chastisement has to be there, but not too strong, because he's small. He can understand. If he's going somewhere stealing something, a 3-year-old boy, so you cannot call the police and arrest him. No. You just have to tell him, my dear boy, this is not proper. And you cannot slap him, small boy. But from 5 to 15, at that time he's actually able to understand more. And then he has to be properly guided so that he does not do wrong things. And at that time, if somebody is lying, a boy, or is stealing, then he has to be strongly reprimanded. And sometimes a little bit violence can be shown too. Of course, still there is also another subject matter, how much violence to be shown to the children. But one has to be more strict from 5 to 15. And so sometimes he has to speak very strong, the father or the mother to the child. And maybe a little slap can be there. Not so much so that he's hurt, but just to make him understand that this is not wrong, this is not right, this is wrong. So that is required, and the spiritual master, he has to chastise the disciple if he's doing something wrong. Because the disciple, he may be grown up 20, and Chanakya Pandit says from 15 upwards to 20, or even later, one has to make friendship with the son. Similarly with the spiritual master and the disciple, there's a relationship of strong friendship is there. But the disciple should always understand that is my spiritual master, and he must have some own reverence also. But friendship has to be there. But then even though the disciple may be 20, 25, 30 years old, 40 years old, but spiritual speaking, from the viewpoint of the spiritual master, he might be acting just like a child. And just like Prabhupada, when he started in the West, and the devotees had no idea about spiritual life. So Prabhupada was very kind, especially beginning, but then after sometimes, so mostly was soft like a rose, but then sometimes he was strong as a thunderbolt, very heavy. So many pastimes we heard of Prabhupada with his disciples, how strong he was sometimes. One time here in Vrindavan, one of his disciples, Bhakti Churu Maharaj, was there cooking for him. Prabhupada, so is a transcendental personality, pure devotee of the Lord. But he appeared in Bengal, and the Bengalis, they like to eat some chili, green chili, sometimes even red chili, and Prabhupada also liked a little chili in the sabjis. And then Prabhupada had told Maharaj, Bhakti Churu Maharaj, how to prepare some preparation. And then, Bhakti Churu Maharaj then did exactly what Prabhupada told him, and he didn't put much chili inside. And then Prabhupada, he didn't like it, and he was very, very strong. He spoke so strong to him that he was practically shaking, almost shouting at him, and he was shaking. Just to teach him a lesson that he has to very strictly follow the orders of the spiritual master. Of course then, because the spiritual master is fully controlled, and so not like the ordinary being, human being, when he's angry, and that anger will stay for quite some time because he's not controlled. It is under the modes of nature. But the pure devotee is fully controlled. So Prabhupada was very peaceful, and in 1 second he could be strong like a thunderbolt. And the next second he was again very peaceful and soft like a rose. So even in this instance, he was strong just for a few seconds, and then he was seeing how his disciple was shaking and shattered. And then he was immediately soft again. And he caressed his head also. You go on, no problem. So like that, sometimes to teach something to the disciple, so the spiritual master has to be very strong. So some kind of, so that is transcendental. So even this transcendental find, they are therefore, even in the beginning, it is explained there, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. So it is the place where the war was there, the fight was there, but it is a religious place. It was dharmic, so that fight, that was actually for the pleasure of the Lord. It was His will. And so Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight. So that was Krishna's will. And so he had to be violent. So war means killing has to be there. Even up to the point of the teacher, which is usually not done. So but if it is a need, if it is by the will of the Lord, then it has to be done. So then finally he surrendered, and then he was successful by the mercy of the Lord. And therefore he is glorified, Arjuna, as a very dear devotee of Krishna, and being the greatest archer of his time. By the mercy of the Lord, he was empowered by Krishna's will. But then always, so the living entity should be very humble and understand that I have to act for the pleasure of the Lord, and I should be not attached to the results. So many things we can learn from the Bhagavad-Gita, how to act practically. Although ultimately, so we are following rules and regulations, but ultimately we are desiring, as explained by Mahaprabhu, so that Aradhya Bhagavan Brajeshatane Astadhama Vrindavanam. So Ramya Kachit Upasana Vajavarvarganya Kalpitaha. So we are more interested actually in worshipping Krishna in Braj and following the Brijabasis in their way of serving Krishna, the Supreme Lord, in Braj Bhav. So we are more inclined towards that, but because Mahaprabhu, so we established the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So So we are more inclined towards that. But at the same time, the Supreme Lord or His instructions in the Bhagavad-Gita, so we are also to follow, and so that Vaidhi Bhakti has to be there. So that is required. But ultimately then we try to enter into Braj Bhav. So that we should clearly understand also. Because we have to go beyond, so this platform of simply trying to understand we are soul. But then we should try to serve with transcendental emotions, ras. Some transcendental taste has to be there, loving exchange. Whereas here in the fight between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, that is for the pleasure of the Lord, but that is from one point of view, then it is the external duty which he was doing, Arjuna, of fighting as a Kshatriya. Which is of course in the spiritual world, so the transcendental loving relationship is there with Krishna. In the primary rasas of Madhurya Ras, like the gopis with Krishna, full of love and devotion in transcendental loving exchange, or the parental affection, Madhya Yashoda, Nanda Baba, or even Vasudeva and Devaki in Dwarka, so full of love and affection, and no violence at all. Under the friends of Krishna. So that is the ultimate relationship there, the intimate relationship. But in this world we have to perform our duty according to Vana and Ashram. So then sometimes, some violence has to be there. So Krishna, he wanted that from Arjuna, and Arjuna he surrendered to that for the pleasure of the Lord. So that is dharma, which has to be followed. So this the battlefield there, so it was a religious fight for the pleasure of the Lord. Krishna in the center was there. But also, so we should understand, even from Krishna in the last verses of the Bhagavad-Gita, Sarva dharman parijjaja mam ekam sharanam braja ham tam sarvapabhebhyo mokshayashyami mahasuchaha. Then first he's saying you follow this dharma as a kshatriya, you fight. You do your duty. But at the end he says that Sarva dharman parijjaja, give up all dharma and simply surrender unto me. So that different forms of religion are there, different injunctions are there of duty, what to do and what not to do. That is explained by Bhaktivinoda Thakur also in his book, Jaiva Dharma, Jivka Dharma. What is the actual dharma of the soul? Then he's explaining about the different dharmas. So Varnashram Dharma is there also. And even Mahaprabhu explained to Rai Ramananda about, or he asked him questions about dharma, and then Rai Ramananda, of course inspired by Mahaprabhu, is explaining about the different forms of dharma. And then Mahaprabhu was saying, when he was also quoting from Bhagavad-Gita, surrender to me. And then he was saying, yes, that is okay, but that is external. But then you should go further. So that is called as Naimitika Dharma. In this material world, we follow the rules and regulations. But the actual Dharma, Nitya Dharma, Paro Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, that is serving Krishna with love and affection in one of the 5 transcendental relationships, as in Golok Vrindavan, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhurya Ras. So that is the ultimate dharma. So ultimately we have to come to this form of dharma. That is the paradharma, the supreme dharma. So Krishna is hinting at it in the Bhagavad-Gita towards the end. And of course then Mahaprabhu, who is non different from Krishna, so And he had come to show us how to actually come to the highest level of dharma and serve Krishna like the Brijavasis are serving. So we should try to see that we can gradually come to the highest form of dharma. But as long as we are in this material world, so we have to do our duty and we have to follow Vana ashram, externally speaking. But then internally we have to cultivate this, actually this Braj Bhav and serve Krishna with transcendental emotions just like the Brijavasis. So therefore it is explained, Seva Sadhaka Rupena Siddha Rupena Chatrahi Tad Bhavelipsona Karya Vrajalokana Sarataha. So we should follow the Brijavasis, externally and internally. Externally we follow Rupa Goswami, following his instructions. And of course the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, the previous acharyas, but especially then Rupa Goswami. So then Krishna's instructions of the Bhagavad-Gita externally, how to act in this world. But then internally we have to follow the Brijavasis, Rupa Manjari, Lalita Vishaka, Maria Shoda, Sudam, Sridam, and try to become perfect in our life. And so then we can come to the highest stage and practically realize our spiritual form. So it is a gradual process, and one has to be always enthusiastic and fixed in trying to attain the goal, but one has to be patient also. But always be in the association of the advanced devotees, so that one can advance more quickly to the highest stage. So Krishna is directly speaking to Arjuna, and we should see that he is actually speaking to us also. So Arjuna is just the instrument. So Krishna is speaking to us. And of course then the spiritual master, so is repeating Krishna's instructions for us, and then he's explaining, because sometimes you may not be able to understand what Krishna is saying. So therefore Prabhupada is giving this wonderful purpose so that we can properly understand Krishna as he is and what he wants to say, his teachings as they are. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yes. Yes.
So similarly, we understand now Prabhupada is past, present, and whimsically we are doing so many things. We don't understand that Prabhupada is there to chastise us or this one. So we do so many whimsical things. Why don't we understand that Prabhupada is chastising us or Prabhupada is consoling us? Why this thing doesn't come in our mind?
Yes. The thing is, yes, Prabhupada is here. Also Rupa Goswami is here. Krishna is here. But in a conditioned state, although we theoretically know that Prabhupada is here, Rupa Goswami is here, Krishna is here, Mahaprabhu is here, they are all here. That is a fact, and theoretically we can know. But because we are not yet so advanced, we cannot actually hear Prabhupada exactly what he wants to tell us, or what Rupa Goswami wants to tell us, or Krishna. So therefore we have to take shelter of the devotee in the disciplic succession, the followers of Prabhupada, who are very advanced, and then they can actually tell us what to do and what not to do. So therefore the Guru Parampara is there, the disciplic succession is there. Because in a conditioned state, so we may have some theoretical knowledge, but we don't have practical realization. So therefore we need a realized soul to guide us, practically speaking, so that we can understand what the previous acharyas want to tell us, what Krishna wants us to do. So that is a process. So therefore it is always explained that we have to take shelter of the spiritual master. But Prabhupada is here. But because many times, so Prabhupada he gave so many instructions you can read in his books and in his letters, and we accept everything. To one devotee will say, you get married. To another devotee said, you take sannyas, don't get married. So which one you will take instruction? Which is applicable to you? For that you need a person who is advanced, who can help you in your situation. So there may be so many situations are there. So therefore you have to take shelter with the devotees who are more advanced. Till we are so when we are not advanced, but when we are more advanced, then we can actually, by chanting the holy names, when the purity is there, then you will feel the presence of Prabhupada, and then you will understand what Prabhupada or the previous acharyas want us to do. Then it will become clear. But the purity must be there for that. So, but unless and until we are actually realized, completely realized, we have to be careful. Because the material mind is there. And sometimes we may think Prabhupada is telling us, but sometimes it is just our mental concoction. So therefore, unless and until we are fully realized, means practically realizing our Swarup and relationship with Krishna in Braj, that is known as Swarup Siddhi. Unless and until Swarup Siddhi is not there, so then we have to take guidance of those who are more advanced. And then we may understand what Krishna wants us to do. Okay?
It's not that we are in ignorance or we are in our pride or our ego. We cannot control our ego. That's why we are not approaching a bona fide devotee so that he can guide us.
So again,
We are maybe are in ignorance or we are in our pride.
Yes.
That's why
Yes.
we cannot approach devotees who can guide us.
Yeah, then maybe there also, yes. Yeah, if the pride is there, ignorance is there, then you will think, well, there's no need for me to approach I have my guru, no need to, maybe far away, and no need to consult with anybody else. I know what to do. They may be there. So therefore it is mentioned we should always be humble and respectful and try to, yes, it is mentioned even on the platform of Bhav, which is very high level. And usually on that level there is even revelation of the Swarup. But if one is not on the platform of Prema Bhakti, it is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, then one should try to get the association of a Prema Bhakti, Premi Bhakta, who is on the highest stage. Because the externality is very strong, or the illusion is very strong. The false ego is very strong, very thick, very subtle, most subtle, but very thick sometimes. So to transcend that is not always easy. So easily one can be misguided, so therefore one has to be always very careful. Maybe ignorance, as you say, or pride, which may then lead to our not being able to do actually what Krishna wants. Yeah. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Krishna?
Yes.
The last two lines of this verse, of this purport, was very fantastic. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged. But at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. That need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously.
Yes.
Very fantastic.
Yeah, yes.
Such a strong and indelible definition can be given only by Prabhupada. That's why it is called Bhagavad-Gita as it is.
Yes. Yes, the pure devotees, they are perfect and complete. And every word they are saying is transcendental.
Unless
Yes.
Krishna's sanction, nothing can be done.
No. Yeah. Ultimately it is mentioned, not even a blade of grass can move without the sanction of the Lord. Yeah. But in the material world, the Lord is very merciful, just like the father. He will tell the child, you do this or that. But sometimes the child, small child, is not listening. And the father says, okay, you let him do for some time, let him play, let him do a little nonsense, he will learn when he's a little older. So like this, the conditioned souls, so sometimes Krishna lets them do. Let them play in this world. But then they will burn themselves by the three modes of material nature and suffer. And then ultimately then they will have to come back to the lotus feet of the Lord and surrender to the Lord. Willingly or unwillingly. So, in the beginning you may be unwilling that one is trying to surrender, unwillingly. Oh yes, I have to surrender, I don't really want yet. But then after some time it will be willingly, in purified consciousness. One will be willingly doing what Krishna wants, in purified consciousness. Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.